Welcome to Illuminating Catholics, podcast of the Diocese of Sioux City. I'm Dawn Prosser, Director of Communications for the Diocese. Together with Karmen Bower of the Faith Formation Office, we will shed light upon topics of faith in the modern church. Our guests include Catholic clergy, religious sisters, and other experts in their fields to help us understand what's happening in the church today. We will explore issues, even the tough ones, and to find answers to common questions about Catholicism. Thank you for joining us for today's Illuminating Catholics, shedding light to understand the modern church. Welcome back to the Illuminating Catholics podcast. I am Dawn Prosser, Director of Communications for the Diocese of Sioux City.
And I'm Karmen Bower, the Director of Faith Formation.
And we're so happy to have you with us for another important topic about the faith with today's episode. And as October is Respect Life Month, we have the two perfect guests for us for the episode. They are protecting the sanctity of life in their own communities. And joining us from Carroll is Jason Schwarte with New Creation Pregnancy Center and Dawn Grimes, Executive Director of Mary's Choice Pregnancy and Resource Center in Sioux City. And she's actually in our studio today. So thank you both for making time for us today.
Thank you.
Well, welcome to both of you, and thank you for sharing your time with us. We're going to begin with Jason here. So, Jason, we're aware that your Knights of Columbus Council has been very active in pro-life activities. So, can you just fill us in on, the background of pro-life, your interest in the pro-life movement up until this moment, and then as well as your Knights of Columbus Council?
Sure. The Knights of Columbus has a key focus around life. And one of the programs that they started many years back was called the Ultrasound Initiative. And that is where a council raises money to purchase an ultrasound machine. And if they raise half of the money for an ultrasound machine, our Supreme matches the other half. And we place these in pregnancy centers throughout the country so that women get a chance to see their baby. And it's statistically, I believe it's like 90% of the women that actually see their baby on an ultrasound will decide to keep the baby. So the Knights in Carroll have done really well. The Knights in the state of Iowa have done really well. I think we just placed our 35th ultrasound machine in the state of Iowa.
Goodness.
One of the most recent being in Carroll at Crossroads of Crawford County, and they're going through training right now. And what's good for us is that's 26 miles down the road. So we can probably starting next month, we'll be able to refer people to that pregnancy center to get ultrasounds.
That's excellent. And Jason, did your own interest in the pro-life movement kind of start with your Knights of Columbus membership and your activity in that council, or was it something that was you held firmly beforehand?
I think it existed beforehand, but it definitely got stronger as I worked with the Knights. Another program that the Knights started more recently was called the ASAP program. That stands for Aid and Support After Pregnancy. And so when women make the choice to go ahead and decide to be a parent, sometimes they have, financial crisis, so they can't afford everything that a baby needs. Sometimes they have no training and they need extra help, and so they go to the pregnancy centers to do, to get some of that assistance. And so for every donation that a Knights of Columbus Council makes to a pregnancy center, there is a match coming from our Supreme as well. So when I was Grand Knight for the last 5 years, I had made a couple visits to some pregnancy centers in Atlantic and Council Bluffs and Denison, because those were the three closest. We did not have a pregnancy center in Carroll at that time. And I was most recently visiting Denison, and I asked them, I said, hey, would you ever consider putting a pregnancy center in Carroll? I was very impressed by the work they were doing there, and they're a town that's smaller than Carroll. And Jeanette told me, she said, I'm really very busy here, and I don't think we can take another site, but I do know some women in Carroll that were interested in starting a pregnancy center. And he ran into some roadblocks, and I haven't heard from them in a while. So I got their names, and we met up, and I think we had our first meeting in I think it was March or April of 23, and by June we were a 501c3. By December we had our building, and January we had our doors open. So it all happened pretty fast.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It was God's plan. It was God's plan.
Oh yeah, praise God. That's wonderful. So now turning to you, Dawn, can you share with us a little bit about your background and when did your interest and involvement in pro-life activities begin?
Well, I really didn't want to do pro-life stuff. It's kind of a God thing. He kept, Mary's Choice was just getting started. They were remodeling the building, weren't open yet. And God said, you should do that. And I'm like, but I don't want to. And so finally I gave in and said, well, I worked at a law firm at the time, so I couldn't be there during the day. And I figured out, well, maybe I could help with the website or something in the background. And so in December of 2012, doors opened in August of 2011 at Mary's Choice. And I got a hold of Cheryl. She was the director at the time, and she got me hooked up with the person that was doing the website. And I got a call about a month later going, hey, that person can't do the website anymore. Can you take over? And then after that, I ended up on the board and helping Cheryl do a lot of the background stuff. And even then, I'm like, they were, the board at the time was trying to get me to take over the director position. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. So come 2019, Cheryl buys a house in Myrtle Beach, and we needed a director because she wasn't going to be around. And at that time, the attorney I was working for was semi-retired. So I played a lot of Candy Crush, and I got bored. So I'm like, okay, fine, maybe I'll do it. So I ended up taking over. So I've been director since 2019.
The rest is history, so to say.
Yep. And it's like each day is God going, oh, you need to do this. And I'm like, no.
You have a little argument with God there.
All the time.
Well, we're glad you both said yes to God's plan with your centers. Jason, people might remember that New Creation got some national attention from the Knights of Columbus for your great work last winter. Do you want to talk a little bit about how the community effort and the effort of the Knights, because it was just such a village that helped you all put it together, and you kind of started that story, but we're going to make you share the rest.
Okay, sure. It happened very, very fast. I spoke at a couple different churches here in Carroll, and it just happened to be when we got our building, so it was during the Advent season. We put a couple baby Advent trees in the back of the churches at St. John Paul II Parish, and it was overwhelming. I think we had about $5,000 worth of goods, diapers, wipes, car seats, high chairs, things of that nature. And it was what we needed to get our baby boutique started. So the baby boutique is a room full of goods for a baby, and everything's new, nothing's used. Women can earn points in our baby boutique to get things in our baby boutique. So a point is worth about $10 worth of merchandise, and they can get things. They can get the points by going to baby visits, doctor baby visits. They can get it for holding a job for 6 months, for getting a job, for getting married. One of the biggest ways they can earn points is by watching videos. These are parenting videos that are designed to help them be better parents and know better how to handle situations. So everything from disciplining a child to lactating mothers and things like that. And there's also videos for fathers too. So they can earn points to get things like the outfits and the diapers and such. So it's just a great program, and we think we're helping our community by educating those people on how to be better parents, and then also helping them with supplies they need.
It's a wonderful addition to your community. And Dawn, you shared a little bit also that this center, I think you said it opened around 2011, and the website and all that was getting started. Do you know a little bit about maybe who was involved in all that at the time and how that really got going?
Well, from what I understand, there was a group of people that would be outside of Planned Parenthood every abortion day, praying. And they had seen other organizations set up right next to Planned Parenthood. And there was a tax company in that building, an accountant at the time, and so they had to buy him a new building to move so they could have that building. And then it took a little bit to remodel. So they got the building in 2010. It needs some remodeling. Our building is kind of like two buildings in one. So the back half needed a new roof and some other remodeling. And when it first started, it was mainly infants and toddler clothes, a few baby items, that kind of stuff. And it eventually morphed into what it is today. But it's gone through quite a few changes. We did get one of the Knights of Columbus ultrasounds back in 2016, I think it was, 15 or 16. We have a chapel. Just last August, we got a new tabernacle, and Jesus is at home in our chapel now. And trying to think of what else. It's just kind of grown for those infant and toddler to having a back room that has household and clothing for all ages. Because one thing we noticed when families were coming in, it wasn't just like a teenager that was pregnant with their first child. It was 30-year-olds that have 5 other children, and they're trying to support that whole family. And a lot of times these moms, they might buy stuff for their kids. They'll spend their money on their kids, and they'll come in the middle of winter when it's 40 degrees below zero in a fleece sweatshirt because they don't have a coat. So we provide free clothing once a month, diapers, wipes, those kind of things.
Great services.
Certainly. So, Jason, looking at New Creation, you had mentioned, some of the items that moms and expecting parents can earn through their points. What are some other services that you're able to offer?
Well, to start out, we offer pregnancy tests.
Okay.
We're not medical staff, so we can't even interpret the test, but we can give them a pregnancy test to take. If they find out that they are pregnant or think that they are pregnant, we can help them with the next step, getting in touch with the doctor. We can refer them again for the ultrasound over in Denison. We can just have discussion and open up the dialogue with them, give them some counseling. A lot of times when a crisis pregnancy happens, they just need to talk. Just need to talk about options. We want to be able to give them good counsel. And then we go down the road of what options are there. We can talk about adoption. We can talk about parenting. We can talk about, being able to be a parent and get the training for a parent. Most of the time, they just want to know that there's help available. We can, again, the baby boutique and supplying the goods that are needed to raise a child is very important. And then for some people who have decided to have an abortion, at some point they're going to need post-abortive counseling. And so we have some great counselors here that can speak with them about that too, and help them forgive themselves. And some of those people actually may become involved in the center. So I think it's God's will. It's whatever needs to be done, we're here to help with.
Certainly, it sounds like you're really working towards building a really great infrastructure of support for men and women in the various areas where they might be seeking that at these points in their life. Now, looking at Mary's Choice, you had mentioned so many things already. So what can a woman expect when she comes? Are there any questions or needs that she has that she should be afraid of asking for? Or, how do you, what should a woman expect?
So when we get a woman in, now that Planned Parenthood's closed next door, they're not coming from there, which is great. But they can come in. We also do pregnancy tests. We have an ultrasound. We don't have medical staff, but we only do pictures for the moms. Most of our moms are keeping their babies. And they can also use those ultrasound pictures to get started getting signed up for state insurance or whatever other programs, because right now the OBs around here are so backed up. Some people can't get in for a month or two for their first visit, so they need to get that other processes taken care of. Once they find out they're pregnant, a lot of moms will come early, or they'll wait till like 2 days before they're due. It's one or the other. They come really, really early or really, really late, and we can help them get. If they need a doctor, we can help them refer to doctors. We can help them get housing if they need housing. We've gotten women into, what are they called? Like Safe Place and Haven House, the abuse centers. We just had a woman who came in for an ultrasound. There was something kind of funky on the ultrasound, and we encouraged her to call her doctor right away. We can't tell her what's wrong because we don't know, and she was able to get into the doctor immediately. And then, so when they're preparing for the baby, we can help them with car seats and strollers and cribs and whatever else. Everything that we get is donated, so we just share it with other people for free. And then a lot of times we get the stuff back and we share it with another family. Once a month they can get a small pack of diapers for the children under 3 that are in diapers, as well as a pack of baby wipes for the family. And then a trip through Mary's Closet, which has clothing and household and whatever else.
It's just such a wonderful support system in those 2 areas of our diocese. And not ironically, since I know Jason attends St. John Paul II Parish in Carroll, but it was St. John Paul II that called us as Catholics and probably as humans, if we could go that far, to assess how are we creating that culture of life. And in 2021, the USCCB released the Walking with Moms in Need to really shine a light, enlighten, so to speak, to increase efforts in assisting mothers in caring for their child. Like, yes, we want them to make that choice for life, but both of your entities really do that and understand that, the hard part wasn't over after delivery. And helping these women and the fathers as well, parenting long after the birth. So we'll ask both of you. So how can the ordinary Catholic? It's like, okay, yeah, I'm pro-life, but I don't have anyone in my life that I need to support right now as a mom or in crisis, etc. So, and I know you both kind of referenced that there have been a lot of contributions and so forth. But I'm wondering if there's other ways that people can help. Any center, your center, or if you're close to the one in Crawford County, you're close to Sioux City. So I'll start with Jason. How can the average Catholic in your area help?
The first thing I always ask for is prayer. Pray that we meet the women that need help, that we give them good counsel, that their hearts are open to being a parent or adoption, just to promoting life. Of course, the goods are always necessary, but I would say we have a pretty full pantry right now. There's some things that we might need specifically. Like, I know from helping a woman last week, she had a daughter who's just turning 1, and so I said, well, let's go look at the baby outfits for 1-year-old, and I got to that section, and that we got a full pantry, but that section was pretty minimal. We had some short sleeve stuff, nothing for going into fall. So I think when we ask for things here at the center, it's going to be pretty specific as far as sizes and sexes. I know we need some shoe sizes, but as far as goods go, I think at times we're pretty healthy, and then at times we need more help. So the best thing to do is probably reach out to us on Facebook and see what we might be needing. We also we always take dollars. We've decided not to take goods that perish anymore. So like the food, the formula, it's just too hard for us to gauge, and we don't want to waste anything. So what we're doing is we're going out and buying that on an on-need basis. So we can use the dollars to go out and buy things like that. When I gave that talk at the church, one gentleman came up to me and said, I'm less likely to donate some goods or give dollars. He said, but I would like to pay your rent for a few months. So he paid our rent for the first 6 months, which was great. that was something we needed at the time. And again, I think God definitely sent him to us. Another thing is just to spread the word. We just need people to understand that there are places available, not just here in Carroll, but there are pregnancy centers all over the United States. And for women that need help when there's a crisis pregnancy, go to those places. Don't just call up Planned Parenthood and lead down one road. Don't call for an abortion pill. Really discuss it and look at your heart and try to follow what God wants you to do. And again, liking us on Facebook so you can follow what we're into, that can help us. I think that our biggest challenge right now is to have the volunteers also. Have the volunteers available so that we can keep the doors open. Right now we're open from 2 o'clock until 7 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but we would love to expand that to do an additional day, maybe some morning hours, maybe some weekend hours. But we really have to center around what our volunteers are when they're available and when they're able to work, because we don't pay staff. It's all volunteer. And so we definitely need volunteers to help. And that can be something as easy as answering the phone. That can be to get a little more educated on how to counsel women, how to be able to handle crisis situations. So there's really a large gamut of how people can help and volunteer here also.
As I recall, you have a board of volunteers, and your board is really active and hands-on in the center, if I recall.
Yes, definitely.
Great. So now you know what you can do in the Carroll County area or wherever is close to you. So same question for you, Dawn, with Mary's Choice. What can people do to help?
I'm not sure. He answered most of my questions.
That's good. You're like-minded.
I'm glad I went first.
I guess for most people, if they want to support us, Facebook is a great place. There's a lot of swap sites. People are always requesting, hey, I need this, I need that. And I see a lot of people go on there and go, hey, stop at Mary's Choice, or check out Mary's Choice. If some people have stuff to donate, you'll see people going, take it to Mary's Choice. And if we can't use it, we have other places that we can support and send things to. Trying to think of what else. Another thing is when you're out in the community and you see someone or you hear someone struggling, or because when you're in Walmart's checkout line, people will tell you their entire life story. and we've had people refer young ladies, single dads, they're having a hard time covering their expenses, and we can help them. So just being there when someone needs help and referring them. You don't have to go out and do everything yourself. There are tons of places in the Sioux City area that can support.
It's beautiful to have that support, because what a scary place to be in, especially if you're alone and you have a crisis pregnancy, or you have a young one and you're not sure what to do and finances are tight. And we do see, as you both mentioned, churches and schools having a diaper drive or cash drive or whatever. And I know we're actually recording this before Mary's Choice's banquet, so this will come out afterward, but there's a huge group that supports Mary's Choice with that. And then I know that Jason said that even Protestant churches were really coming through with items and really walking with moms, as we are all told to do. So Jason, what one message would you give to a young mom or a young couple, maybe with an unexpected pregnancy, that maybe don't have the knowledge or the resources? What one message would you give to them?
Boy, I would say stay calm. Let's talk. Let's have a discussion. A lot of times they just need to talk through it. Talk through it with somebody to know that they're not alone.
That's great. And Dawn, same question to you.
I tell them there's hope. This is a temporary problem. It will pass. And what decision you make now will affect their entire life. Whether that's having that baby or aborting that baby, they will remember it. I have talked to so many women that in their, they're retired and they remember that baby they aborted.
That's powerful. We did have interviewed Stormy Poss about Rachel's Vineyard to help with healing for those that experienced abortion in their lives. So thank you. So we'll put links in the show notes about how to reach both entities and how they can help.
Certainly, and thank you both and for all of your volunteers who organize this. I mean, these sorts of centers really allow us all to be able to be a part of the pro-life movement, because we have a place to give to. We have a place to give of our time or our donations, and so that even for us as Catholics in the pews, it really opens up that door where we can feel involved in pro-life efforts. So thank you both, and also those who support you in your communities in these areas. And thank you, Jason of New Creation Pregnancy Center in Carroll, and Don Grimes of Mary's Choice in Sioux City in this Respect Life Month for sharing with us the most important work that you do to assist vulnerable women and families, and all that you do to support the culture of life, as we are all called to do. And thank you to our listeners for letting us enlighten you with this episode. Be sure to listen wherever you get your podcasts or at lumenmedia.org. And there's also a link in the weekly Lumen Notes e-newsletter that you can watch out for.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Illuminating Catholics, shedding light to understand the modern church. Follow us for more episodes on topics of the Catholic faith. For more diocesan news, visit lumenmedia.org.